After having finished Pokemon fusions with only abhorrent monsters, like for example a crewmate from Among Us or Big Chungus. So strap in, because we are about to find some of the most cursed and awesome fusions out there. And don't worry, you won't have to watch the previous run to understand this one. So we start the game up by getting told by Professor Oak that only getting 8 badges weren't good enough, and we need 8 more for him not to disavow us. And I quote, not to be a jazz. So he gives us our starter Pokemon of Miltank and Ditto. I sure wonder what beautiful fusion this will hold. No. I guess welcome to the new team, Sussy. We leave the Kanto region slightly offended but still in high spirits to take on the Johto Gym challenges. And we take the train to Goldenrod City where the first gym challenge resides. And since I realized that the first gym leader, Whitney, would have more than one Pokemon, I spun the wheel of mythicality and fused together Dialga Pikachu to get our next teammate, Adventure. I also from a recommendation tried fusing Rotom and Victreebel and got a toilet. That's a reference to your house. But without further ado, we head into the first gym challenge against Whitney. And I promptly got my ass handed to me since she had both way stronger and way more Pokemon than me. So I decided to go back and fuse another Pokemon for the road. And went with Snorlax and Empoleon to get obese Club Penguin. Anyways, we head back to Whitney and to be honest, she was acting kinda suspicious. So we just warded her off and get our first badge. Even though we already had 3 teammates, I realized that basically every gym leader would have a full team of Pokemon. So I decided it was fair to already give myself a new fusion, as the entire place is completely flooded with water. Seemed like someone forgot to turn off their sink again. And of course, like everything in video games, it is up to the literal child to fix everyone's problems. So we received Dive from Random Old Feller, which we use to access the flooding well to us. With the town back in order, we get access to the second gym. You have to redo it for every new web you go through. But at last we solve the puzzle and get to challenge the second gym leader, Kurt. And I start off by sending out Dio, who just kinda stops time and nabs the Hive badge. Can't really complain though, so without hesitation we continued through Route 33 and Union Cave towards Violet City, where I decided it was time for some more Pokemon fusing. Still having hope to find some actual cool fusions, I tried combining Dugtrio and Porygon 2, and that's literally just another Among Us, isn't it? Lastly I tried fusing Dialga and Gardevoir, which creates a psychic looking girl. But I have no idea what this is a reference to, so be sure to let me know if you have any ideas. But anyways, I thought it would be funny adding Big Chungus to the team. So with that, we head towards the Violet City gym to challenge the bird-type gym leader, and Hydro Pump in the Faulkner was forced to use a full restore. But Dupin was proving to be quite stubborn and almost takes down Fat P. So I used a potion to allow Fat P to survive long enough to take him down. Next up was Mimiriff, who unfortunately managed to defeat Fat P after a few attacks. So Suicide Dio just gets 2 shots, but he luckily didn't go down without a fight, as he paralyzes Miroff. So an explosion to take both him and Five Nights at Freddy's out. I then sent out Sussy to take up the fight against his Garchomp, and since I didn't really know how well Sussy would defend against him, I used the transformed managers to defeat Sussy, but not before Sussy gets some good hits in. So it was now up to Big Chungus to survive at least 1 hit so I could heal Dio for a surefire win, which he luckily manages, and Dio takes Yato out without much of a hitch. And with that, we finally get our hands on the 3rd badge. And you know what that means, right? It's fusion time! I started off by fusing Infernapin Driftblim, which just creates a huge 1P spoiler. Next up I tried fusing Absol and Gardevoir, which creates this awesome looking 2B fusion. Next up I tried doing a Diglett and Ditto fusion and but anyways I decided to yeet 2B and Luffy into the team and head towards Sprout Tower to sneak past a billion old guys pacing around so I could receive the Golbat boots, which allows us to jump over small gaps. And while we're there I just decided to steal the golden Bellsprout statues, very creative. But it has unfortunately gotten its exit blocked by a rock slide. So we are naturally tasked with finding Dynamite from a few workers there to get out. Yeah, it's a brilliant idea to just hand over Dynamite to a literal child. Would sure be a damn shame if we accidentally Sackthorn City where the next gym resides. And Claire, the gym leader here, is usually the last gym leader you challenge in the Johto region. But that doesn't really matter since we are honestly just that good. And with the combined power of each of our reference months, Claire's team goes down smoothly. With the Rising Badge in hand, we head up towards a giant frost-glazed Mount Moon. But unfortunately we were quickly stopped by a big gap at the top of the mountain. And since Pokemon characters can't really jump... Wait, what happened? Oh, a note. When in dire trouble, try fusing Sceptile and Furret. Oh, that's weird, but I will keep that in mind for later. Next up I fused Slugma and Porygon C to make this absolute... And since I love Undertale, I added him to the team too. With a newfound sense of determination, we head into another one of the most annoying gym challenges I've ever faced, where you have to shoot this Pokeball into the goalpost, but you have to be extremely precise and line it up perfectly. But no matter, I managed to beat it after like an hour of back and forth, so it's time to challenge the now Ghost type gym leader, Bryce, against our ninja, so he takes him down with just one hit. Next up, Bryce sent out this super funky Rhyblade fusion, and I decided to continue rocking with Dennis since Dark types moves are super effective against Ghost types. So we easily take down Rhyblade and his next Pokemon, Dugar, but he then unfortunately sends out Vilegar, who one-shots Dennis with a Pedal Dance since it's super effective. So we follow Dennis up with 2B, who is also super effective against Ghost types, and she luckily just barely manages to squeeze out the victory after a very spooky exchange of attacks. Bryce's last Pokemon is a Driftmans, who quickly takes down the barely standing 2B, but he sends a Dio, who is also super effective against flying types, and takes him out with a Thunder. I'm sure this place won't become the most annoying puzzle known to man later in the game. So we continue our adventure towards Eucratic City Tower, where we find a 6th gym leader that apparently possesses psychic powers of some kind. So we just file a lawsuit about the matter and settle on Morty giving us his badge for free. Satisfied with the conclusion of the lawsuit, I fuse some more Pokemon, starting off with Staryu and Gardevoir, which makes this amazing Rosalina and Luma fusion. Welcome to the team, Rosalina. Next I fuse Gardevoir and Deoxys to get Hatsune Miku? I didn't know they had celebrities in this game. Still a bit starstruck, we catch some rumors going around that Unova's champion Alder is in town. So we head to the dance club to find him talking about some strange readings some scientists have found in the Johto region, suggesting us, but Alder doesn't really trust us to handle the matter yet, so he just tells us to beat up some dancers, and now he's apparently fine with it. I think it's about time we'd cancel Alder on Twitter, but that's a matter for later, as we now have to complete one of the most annoying puzzles I've ever encountered in a video game ever, where you have to blindly find switches that unlocks the doors you need to proceed. The Johto region really has a knack for the worst puzzles imaginable, don't they? Anyways, we make it to the top and ring the bell of mythicality, which summons none other than Reshiram, a legendary fusion between Reshiram and Zekrom, if you couldn't tell. Anyways, I kinda just chuck a great ball at him and call it a day. And no, I didn't really call them a day, I called them friend. We head back to Alder, who still isn't satisfied with our work, and he sends us back to the Lake of Rage to investigate some readings suggesting the presence of Unova's third legendary Pokemon, Kiruam. So we head back to the Lake of Rage to find our light and Darkstorm glowing intently when we hold them close to the giant mysterious block of ice. And when we touch it, the entire lake suddenly froze solid in the blink of an eye. And with that, we enter the most annoying Pokemon puzzle to have ever been conceived. Like seriously, I was stuck trying to figure out where to go for rock formation. And on the other side we find Kyurem like Alder predicted. And I just kinda chuck a Master Ball at him and call it a day. And no, I didn't literally call him a day, I call him good boy. And you know what that means? It's fusion time! First fusion of the day will be Dugtrio and Machamp. Whatever wondrous creature will we get? Oh no. Next up we got Voltorb and Porygon, who creates Creeper. Clap it up everybody. Next up we got Electrode and Cofagrigus, making Darkstar's final form from Paper Jam. Amazing. Lastly for this fuse session, we have Porygon and Onix making Minecraft. Truly astounding. I forgot to say this in the video, but I also made King K. Rool and added him to the team down. But after exploring there a little, we find that the path to the islands were unfortunately blocked off by a reef of Corollas, which means we have to head to the utmost north point to the Sevi Islands to help a fisherman find his kid and friends at a camping trip, which rewards us with a flute to scare off Corsola Reefs, which means we will finally be able to reach Boone Island, where the 7th gym leader Shuck is located. And we'll find Shuck meditating under a waterfall and challenge him to a battle. I decided to try spearheading with Creeper, who just accidentally blows up the entire arena, making Shuck very upset and refusing a rematch. But luckily Dio's able to stop time before he leaves to nab the Storm Badge. And with that, we officially only have one last badge to collect before we could challenge the unprecedented champion of the Pokemon world. But before that, I made Wario, Paper Peach, Hollow Knight character, a radio, Magma Lamp, and just straight up a lamp. Magnificent. And lastly, we combined Ditto and Jigglypuff to get Kirby. Welcome to the team, you big goofy pink ball. Now all that was left was locating the last gym leader, Jasmine, who was also allegedly somewhere on the Sevi Islands. After searching for a while and surviving a freaking maelstrom, we arrive at Chrono Island, where Jasmine has supposedly been spotted. And luckily the rumors were right, as we find Jasmine there big chilling looking out on the water. Our natural Pokemon instincts kicks in and we challenge her to a duel for honor and the 8th gym badge. And I lost. Multiple times in fact. Against Jasmine, I started off with Dio to counter her terrifying Butterdilly fusion. And I just kinda spammed the Ice Beam since it was super effective to finish the job with a cut. Next up was Mew, a fusion between Mew and Beedrill, which I counter with Sussy since B could ease a strategy to slowly chip away at Mew's health. as Sussy takes Buiaf with just a sliver of health remaining. With only 3 Pokemon left standing, Jasmine sent out her Agsect, but this is where I made a pretty embarrassing mistake and counter with Creeper and used Explosion, which barely leaves a dent on Agsect and reversely takes Creeper down due to the nature of the move. So I sent out Kirby so I could use a full heal on Dio, as he would have the best shot at taking out the Agsect, and unfortunately Kirby gets one shot. But Dio manages to champ it out and takes Agsect out with only 2, namely Suffer, who easily takes out Dio with their Night Gaze. With only 2 Pokemon of my own remaining, I send out King K. Rool to hopefully finish the fight, and with a few outrages, Suffer finally goes down, netting us the last gym badge of the Johto League. All in one try, can you believe it? With all 8 badges finally in hand, we head back to Professor Oak to at long last receive the recognition we so direly deserve. But what's that? What's Cynthia and Bradley shit doing here? We then get told that there are mid sightings of a legendary Pokemon that can bend the time-space continuum at the same time over at Mount Moon. And we are of course naturally tasked with going up there to check what's going on. The journey up Mount Silver was a long and arduous one, but when we finally approached the peak, Cynthia stopped us due to the overwhelming power exerted by the mysterious Pokemon was too much to handle. So like any disagreement in the Cynthia started with Esconci, which I counter with Dio, but it really didn't go as planned since Esconci takes Dio down with only 2 try attacks. So next I decided to send out Dennis Chainsaw Guy since I thought he would fare better, but he also almost gets taken down with just 1 hit. But luckily since Night Slash is super effective, it takes Esconci down with just a single hit. Next up is Galactic, and it stupidly enough didn't switch out, it luckily turned out different, as King K. Rool manages to tank 3 Earthquakes, which finally takes Poliwrath out. Cynthia's second to last Pokemon is a really awesome fusion between Tyranitar and Spiritomb, which I counter with Creeper by Earthquake and Stone Edges. At this point I only had Sussy and King K. Rool remaining, so send out K. Rool and used a max push, just damage to the user too. And at this point I really didn't want to risk sending out Sussy, so used up my 2 last healing items I had left and used 1 last outrage for the road, which almost takes Amalix down. With only a sliver of health left, I send out my last Pokemon, Sussy, to deal the finishing blow, which takes down Cynthia. Out of respect, she heals our team, and with that, we head out of the cave. It turns wide, and we suddenly get thrown 3 years into the future. The legendary Pokemon seems to be gone, but that's when I suddenly heard footsteps approaching from behind. And it turns out the mysterious figure is none other than Gold himself, and a single drop of sweat. The discrepancy between our teams was overwhelming. The note from earlier. We got a few Sceptile and Fur to create the ultimate being. I'm honestly not ready to discover what ultimate power looks like, but here we go. It's him! We are now ready to take on Gold, but absolutely leaping way past it. And with Gold finally beat, we get sent back to the past and transported to our room. So I guess we beat the Johto region. I'm going to bed.